Stress Engineer's Log, Stardate 2011-06-12. Once again, you, my loyal Imperial followers, are saved from the misery of me telling you what I learned about statistics, and randomized complete block design experiments, and Latin square experiments, and blah blah blah. You are saved because I read the copy of The Dark Knight Returns my parents got me for my birthday. Before my birthday, mwahaha! And I read about Batman, who is awesome and a vigilante. So, I learned about vigilantes. Like the Vem. Veme? I'm not German, I'm not certain how to pronounce it. Anyway, they were a series of courts in Westphalia that worked more or less like everyone imagines the Freemasons actually do. There were a bunch of guys got together, decided they're Judge Dredd, held secret courts that would nail notices on doors, hold trials, and summarily execute the guilty, and summarily execute the snitches, and summarily execute anyone who didn't have the proper security clearance level to go attend their courts. And whenever they did string someone up, they'd leave a nice knife next to the guy to show them, everyone else, that it wasn't a murder. Then, nowadays, there's the People Against Gangsterism and Drugs in South Africa. This is a tall order in South Africa, and they seem to be doing pretty well. Except, as it turned out, they're kind of Islamist, leading to them having all the baggage that always seems to follow in the wake of said ideology. They're now considered a terrorist group. The best named historical vigilantes would have to be the Vindicatori. They were Sicilian, which is pretty cool, were another secret society, which is really cool, and put down in the 1180s with prodigious use of rope and hot irons, which is definitely cool. Unfortunately, there's no pictures of them on Google, so you're going to get the modern-day Vindicatori, and that'll have to do. In their footsteps were maybe the BAAAT-MAAAAN, who are also Sicilian, also secret, essentially anarchist in that they oppose both the church and the state, but, unlike the Vindicatori, historians are unsure whether or not they actually existed. Modern Sicilians think of them vaguely like us Anglophones think of Robin Hood, and Cosa Nostra likes to imagine themselves as the latter-day BAAT-MAAAAN. Therefore, you get a restaurant storefront because it's just like going to the Robin Hood Inn. Then, of course, there's the good old American San Francisco Committee of Vigilance, which showed up in response to a bunch of Australians, in theory, helping to burn down the city in 1849. This was resolved in a traditional, civilized fashion. In the post-Civil War world of Missouri were the lamest names vigilantes to have a Wikipedia article. The Bald Nobblers. Mostly Union-aligned, they luck out in that they had a group of adversaries, the Legion of Doom to their Justice League, called the Anti-Bald Nobblers. The only way to be lamer than an original lame name is to be merely anti the lame name. Anti is lame. Anyway, these horny bag-on-head fellows started fighting out the marauding gangs of ex-soldiers that make good Western baddies. Then they fought the Antis. The original chapter was peacefully and happily disbanded when the job was done. The counties around the original chapter had some really smashing stories of rampages, crackdowns, assassinations, and three-way shootouts. All in all, they sort of made up for the much better named but poorly recorded Vindicatori. In the modern era, there were of course the White Guard of Finland. They weren't really secret at all, but they were a grassroots anti-communist militia that fought off the local Reds in the 1918 Civil War, then the Soviets in the 1939 Winter War, and then the Soviets again in the Continuation War. They didn't last after that, however, since they were considered fascist, being, on the whole, anti-communist and, by this time, co-belligerents with Nazi Germany, and were disbanded in the peace negotiations of the Continuation War. Nowadays, vigilantes seem to be relatively common if you know where to look. Anti-illegal immigrant Minutemen and ranch rescuers in the United States, the anti-communist Salva Judum in India, anti-gang Sombra Negra death squads in El Salvador, the anti-wife abuse Gulabi Pink Gang in India, again, the quite literally named Davao Death Squads in Davao City in the Philippines, Bakassi Boys in Nigeria, and probably countless other smaller groups which haven't done anything big enough for media attention throughout the rest of the world to acclaim to. In short, that's what I learned today. Like a boss. Log in.